Okay, I see 6 o'clock. Like to call this meeting to order. Town of Lee Planning Board pursuant Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording taking place of the meeting. If anyone else wishes to record the meeting, they must make it known to the chair. First item, special permit hearing. Like to open up the public hearing for 40 Limestone Road. At this time, sir, you were gonna have some more information for us, I think?
Yeah.
Come on up.
I invited Kurt Jackson here tonight via Zoom. I spoke to him on Friday, so unless that's Kurt on Kristen's Zoom call there. If he doesn't show, I'll have to request an extension next meeting.
All right,
Can we recess for 15 minutes and take it up when we have a break and, after another item?
yes,
Give them a
we
chance.
will.
Sure. Okay, great.
We'll recess the public hearing for 15 minutes
Great.
while we conduct other business.
Thank you.
Okay, public comment? Here you are.
Hello, everybody. Hope
Hello.
you're well rested after Founder's Weekend. I just have 2 things to report. The Community Preservation Act. We are now starting to accept letters of interest up until October 2nd. If those letters are then approved, then the second step will be the full application by December 1st. That then gets a recommendation by the Community Preservation Act Committee, and that then goes to the town for a vote in May for those funds. The areas that can be applicable for these funds are affordable housing, historical preservation, open space protection, and outdoor recreation. And then the second thing was Founder's Weekend. Absolutely spectacular, beginning to end. Oh, from the library open reception for Creatively, then the food, plenty of food, the fireworks, the mile run on Saturday, the vendors still at the town park, the Sons and Daughters of Italy with the sausage and pepper grinders, the activities at the athletic field. I wish everybody in town could have just come and taken a castle view of how the town's money is spent on that field. Every single piece of equipment was used by the children, whether it was the new stuff, the bouncy house, the fitness, the obstacle thing, the skateboard park competition, everything, the merry-go-round, every single thing was used at that field. And we ran out of food. The Boy Scouts always provide food. They ran out of hamburgers and hot dogs. We had 400 popsicles for the Pittsfield Police popsicle truck. Everyone gone. We sponsored, the Youth Commission sponsored a young man who did cotton candy. We actually had to stop the line because we needed to close up. It was just fabulous, just wonderful. And then rounding it off on Sunday was the duck race. That was spectacular to just see people. They were along the river, but down by the athletic field, by the canoe launch, everybody was there, and the Lions Club people were collecting all the ducks, and once again, no ducks were lost. So spectacular. I said to Kathy DeBarons, who's the my words are gonna slip here, Chamber of Commerce director. I said to her, how are you going to top this for next year? Because it just was so much fun. Everybody enjoyed it. We had no incidences whatsoever. So great job, Town of Lee. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Kathy. Minutes,
With approval of the minutes as submitted.
I'll second that.
second, any discussion? Roll call vote, Conrad,
Aye.
Peg,
Aye.
Dave? Aye. Peter?
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. I don't think I want to get into the site plan yet. Residential zoning discussion a little bit.
Okay, I don't know how long you want to allow for this, but I imagine we could have a 15 or 20 minute discussion about it because there are two things I want to talk about. One is the article, it was in the Eagle about the Methodist Church. And I remember when he came to us, and I didn't remember that he wanted to put, was it 7 or 8 units in the building? I didn't remember that part. I remember 3 or 4 out back.
He wanted to do a few in the building, then he wanted multiple
One.
Yeah,
buildings outside.
yeah,
And that's only a less than an acre lot
yeah,
is what
yeah.
a lot of
yeah.
things snag, you know.
So I've walked by that church many a time and it's really sad to me to see how he hasn't really neglected it, but he's clearly got limited resources. He's been sort of puttering away on it the way I built my house in Vermont, it took 20 years. I respect it, but it's sad that the place can't be sort of put to use, better use. In light of my experience on the master plan committee, hearing so many people talk about how difficult it is to get housing in Lee, especially rental housing. I guess I want to propose that we, as a committee, rethink our schedule for the next year. We were going to have a planner come on board. First, it was, I think, July, and then it was Labor Day, and then she didn't come at all. And now I don't know, whether we're going to have somebody or not, or whether they're going to be qualified. So since the master plan has been adopted, half a year has gone by. And rather than feeling like I have the luxury of a lot of time to think about big issues, I'm feeling, no, we don't really. We're going to put something in for town, anything at all in for town meeting, you better get on it pretty fast. So I want to propose a discussion tonight or another night if you need time to prepare about the idea of increasing the ability of properties like that Methodist Church to be used for larger numbers of units. I think I looked in the bylaw. In the article, Buck is quoted as saying there's a limit of 4, and I think he's correct. He was correct. Bylaw does say. There's one zone or 2 zones where you can have more, but the residential, the R20, the R30 zones, there's a limit of 4 units, and it makes sense on a lot like my house where I got a kind of a small lot, and the house is pretty much a lot of the lot. But when you got something like the Methodist Church, you've got a big old building that really could have, and it's on High Street, a block off Main Street. It's 2 doors away from the senior apartments, which I don't even know how they got approved, if that's,
That was an A-Rod.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I was just over the last week since that article's come out, I've been thinking about how I would suggest changing the bylaw. And I don't really have any definite ideas, but I do think that an absolute limit of 4 is too restrictive. I think that extending the side yard and setback requirements is probably unnecessary. And I'd like to find a way so that at least close into the town center, within a block or 2 of Main Street and maybe Prospect Street, we could have some by right uses that involve more multifamily, or if not by right, then at least subject to the special permit that the selectmen give for multifamily. And what's going on behind me? Everybody's looking.
Nothing, I'm just, everyone's in, I'm just watching that. except the guy we're looking for.
I'm either boring you or there's
No,
something
I
happening.
just want to
behind me.
make sure I'm there.
Anyway, so I guess I want to propose that we spend some time in the next few meetings examining the limits on multifamily housing, especially in the residential areas, and try to think up proposal for a Springtown meeting 25 that would address that question if we think it needs to be addressed, and maybe also a list of sort of grab bag things like the stuff that Gordon brought up about the table 2 problems that we have at the end of the bylaw where there are inconsistencies between the text and the table. So I guess it's a call for, study and possible doing some work this winter.
Hey, do you have a comment?
Well, I was gonna say, if you build more than 4 current, you have to have fire, a lot of fire sprinklers, and that's quite expensive.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just bringing that up. I think that's something that
I don't think there's anything we can do about that, but
That'd be a building code.
it's
it's a building
code,
code,
yeah.
yes.
out of our hands, but it seemed like from the article in the newspaper that that wasn't necessarily the only bullet through the heart for this guy's project. It was also zoning, and I just don't feel right about what happened to him on the zoning.
Also, on that side of the street, I believe it's divided. That's a split zone. I believe, on what,
No,
the 2 sides of the street.
yeah, each side of the
Yes,
street, that side of
yes.
the street is R20,
Yeah,
the other side is DCBC.
Yeah.
right. So I'm just
So I think
saying,
it may
those
have
are
been
issues.
miszoned a little bit too, because the high school's in R20 zone, a block off Main Street, the old high
Yeah.
school. But I'm not proposing to change the zoning. I just think that maybe our rules are too
Well, it's-
restrictive.
I mean, just
Maybe.
quick look at it, for multi-dwelling. You have to have 1 acre in R20, 4 units. And then they,
He had like 0.7 or something acres,
Yeah.
less than an acre.
yeah, 0.9, I think it was
Yeah.
just shy.
Yeah.
So what would happen? Do we go to a density per acre?
Oh, you're asking me how I would
What do you
change it?
think?
I
What
don't
do you
really
think
know.
we do?
I don't really know how I would change it. I guess one thing would be raise the number 4 to a higher number. We've got apartment buildings around town that aren't really problematic as far as I can tell. I mean, I don't live in the neighborhood of any of them, but they seem to be meeting an economic need and, not creating, we don't have any slums that I know of, or, problems like that. So if we went to, let's say 8, and if we re-examined the minimum acreage. And the side set, I think there's a side yard, 10 feet added, isn't there, Buck?
Yeah, they add, let's see, the rear goes from 30 to 50. Yeah, the side goes 15 to 25, and the front goes 25 to 40. I really don't understand that logic.
Yeah, well, I think the logic was.
To prevent it.
We're gonna make it really hard.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
And now we need them, now we need more housing. Because people can't find places to live.
And they also changed the coverage. If you look at the tables, if you have a single family, you can cover 25% of the lot. If it's multifamily, you can only cover 20%. So I think it was a
Yeah.
deterrence. It was a deterrent to do multifamily. Times have changed. Do we take,
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, that the Methodist Church discussion. I mean, nowadays, right now, he's got a duplex on there
Mhm.
currently. He wanted to have multifamily in the structure itself. He wanted to build some units to the back. Now with the new ADU requirements, could this gentleman come in and go, I got a duplex in the big building? And could he come to us to the new state code and apply an ADU in the back? Or in the case, I think we discussed this last time, are you allowed only one ADU or are you allowed up to two ADUs on a parcel? There seemed to be a question we had.
This,
Yeah,
the state looks vague on that too. They really don't define it. They don't say one.
But this could be an
Yeah,
example here.
it's
Here's
good.
the gentleman's got a duplex on the one big building.
yeah.
Unfortunately, it's like 6,000 square feet.
Yep.
Whatever. It's a huge building. It could have easily been directed to 4 units. And if he has setback requirements, it could be met. He could conceivably today, if we look at the state requirements, put 2 ADUs in the back,
Awesome.
thus increasing his number of units per that particular apartment. That's on a by right.
Well, the first one's by right.
Yeah.
We weren't sure whether the second one.
But that might be an avenue for that gentleman to go towards
Yeah,
if,
well, he's selling according to the
Yeah.
newspaper. So
And also the other, his square footage was just below the, where A-Rod kicks in at 10,000. I think he had like
Mhm.
8,900.
it
So that's another avenue that we could look at.
Sure.
Yeah,
goes back to density.
density, yep. And that's, so the A-Rod, that's, they were able to, do the multifamily like in the old nursing home and the veterans home on East Street. That's how
Can
they
you
did that.
explain the concept of the A-Rod? I don't know if I remember wrong.
A-Rod was developed as an overlay district to reuse some of the older large buildings. So basically you had open, it allowed you to do open zoning.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
On a
Well,
special permit basis.
Mhm.
oh, special permit, yeah,
Mhm.
totally.
Well, maybe that is the way to go and just reduce the minimum size. Yeah.
Sir, it's quarter after, I don't see. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna come off of our recess for the special permit. And we will continue this public hearing till our next meeting. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you. Let's get our customers going here. This time. We have a site plan review for 39 Water Street. O'Brien Properties, and similar to the last time they were here. I am gonna turn this over to Peter and recuse myself. Out.
And Mr. Chairman, before you do that, could
Yeah.
I have if you're gonna continue that other special permit, you should vote on, you should vote on but the whole board, because it's a special permit. You should call for a roll call vote to continue it till a date and time certain and say what that is and everybody vote.
Okay.
Otherwise, it could be challenged.
Gotcha.
Thank you. No problem.
So this will be October 7th, folks,
What day it's at?
Monday,
Ah.
October 7th. Wait a minute, Maybe not.
7th or 8th.
no,
The 8th, I think, was the,
We have the 9th on the agenda.
oh, yeah, for our next
Right.
meeting, that's right. Okay, because it's not, all right,
because of, yeah,
so vote to extend this special permit hearing till the 9th. Conrad,
At a
Aye.
time.
aye,
at 6 o'clock,
Aye.
Peg,
aye.
Dave, Peter,
Uh,
Buck Donovan, aye. Okay, thanks, Gordon.
Good evening.
Aye.
I'm Pete- I'm Peter Blum. I'm the vice chair of the board. Do you know the members of the board?
Yep.
Okay.
And Gary O'Brien, meet y'all.
Hi, Gary. Why don't you tell us about what you'd like us to do?
So at 39 Water Street, which is approximately Olive's parking lot. Me and my wife are looking to put in a landscape supply yard. Which would consist of bins of different types of stone products. And landscape materials to retail and sell. We're looking to use the existing easement that lets us into that parking lot. I have spoke with Brian Ducey from the state. He doesn't see where I need to have a traffic survey on it. We're looking to do is, okay.
And what is his capacity?
What is,
Brian Ducey? What?
he is in charge of traffic, control and studies for District 1.
This is state highway.
Yeah, it is state highway. It used to be Kevin Whalen, and this gentleman was doing the job.
Is this similar to what you proposed down in,
Quarry Hill,
Somewhat, we have no plans of doing any crushing or screening, this is just strictly for materials.
Is that all you want to present right now? Okay, any questions from the board? Conrad?
I always got questions. Excuse me. Is it a formal application for site plan approval tonight? Or is this like, your wife had done last time, came in basically as an application to discuss what the zone was, how it would be applied? So that's, okay,
This is application for site plan review / approval.
okay, so this is a formal site plan approval application. Okay. Okay, we'll get to that in a second then. So it'll be very similar to what you're discussing out of Quarry Hill. It'd be retail sales. Is it retail sales or wholesale?
Retail and, wholesale.
And wholesale.
Yep.
Again, no screening, no crushing,
Correct.
strictly retail.
No, retail and wholesale, you said,
Retail and wholesale.
selling.
Basically, all we got in our package here was, we have an application, we have the site photos, we have equipment photos, we have a marked up aerial. There are no dimensions, site plans, nothing that would demonstrate the meets and bounds of property, setbacks from structures, that kind of thing. No stormwater management questions are being addressed. It was just, we've got a marked up, hand sketched aerial photograph, so that wouldn't qualify for a formal application. We would need a site plan application. Excuse me. We would need a site
So you
plan,
want dimensions of area?
well, in the code, I believe it's under.
don't we have a map of the property?
No,
Not from him, but the town for tax reasons.
yeah, in fact, I've got it here. This is the property we started.
Let's give
Yeah.
Mr. O'Brien one of these.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Oh, I didn't take them. If there's extras, so, yeah. That's okay. Thanks.
Yeah, it has dimensions on it.
Yeah, well, this is the accessory map. This is what the conduct is showing. We would at least need something that shows a dimensioned scale plan that shows again, the meets and bounds, property configuration, setbacks for any structures. And structure would be the bins, any buildings that are gonna be going on, that kind of thing.
They're not a permanent structure.
But they should be demonstrated on a plan on how this is gonna work. Under the regulations, there's a minor site plan application, and there's a major site plan application.
Mhm.
Okay, it just depends, we would have to determine which we thought would apply in this particular case. And that's why we're asking all these questions, so
Okay.
it gives us an idea of what you're looking for and how that should be looked at.
We're gonna ask for an engineered plan to just show, you know what you're moving now,
Yep.
okay? So we know on where everything's gonna fit in that lot.
Okay.
Why don't we let Conrad finish up? I'll get to you. Dave. Go ahead, Conrad.
Yeah, a few things here again, it's, this is basically a 3/4 acre parcel, it's in a commercial business corridor. There's certain uses allowed by right, there's certain uses allowed by special permit. It seems like when you read the permitted uses in the code, it would seem, that's why I was asked the question about, is it a retail use, a wholesale use? Or if you do the crushing, that's a manufacturing use, and that can't be done in this particular zone. Okay, so quick read, it looks like in the CBC zone, retail sales would be allowed by right, subject to site plan approval, be it major site plan or be it minor site plan. You note on your papers here that there will be a mobile office that is not a permanent structure, and you show a 4-fixture mobile generator light in that package, all suggesting that this is a temporary operation. Is this gonna be a temporary operation, or is this gonna be a permanent
It
operation?
might only run it seasonally. So during winter months, I might not run it, or we might, I'm not sure.
Okay, when your wife was here, she was talking about a salt shed,
Correct.
which
That is-
implied that would be operation during the winter.
Well, yes, that's what I said, I'm not sure, if we're gonna do it seasonally or all the time, but is that gonna change? Because,
Well, we have to know what you.
yeah, okay, I understand. Then let's go forward, that we're gonna use it year round.
Okay, well, again,
Yep.
that's. We need that information as part of the site plan.
Okay.
Okay, so. We would need a narrative to say, you know, how, describe what you're gonna do. Is it gonna be for, stone or different colors?
Landscape product.
Landscape products, whatever it is. If it's gonna be salt, you need to know it's gonna be salt.
Mhm.
If it's gonna be salt, most likely you need a shed,
Mhm.
a covered shed.
Mhm.
If you're gonna deal with salt,
Not gonna be permanent. That's
that would be a
what it
permanent
is.
structure.
Yes.
Right? A salt shed would be a permanent structure.
Wouldn't be permanent. But you need to do the clear span building like we included in one of the pictures. So it's not a permanent structure.
Oh, it's sitting up on blocks.
Yep, correct.
Okay, so I think that would be up to the building inspector to determine whether that's a permanent structure. Or a temporary, I guess, I don't know, maybe that's beyond us.
Yeah, all we need to know is where is it, how big is it, and
Right,
Yeah.
where it's gonna be on the property and how that's gonna operate. So it's really gonna be a permanent use. Not a temporary use.
Okay,
well, wait a minute, he's not saying that.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
you're,
Gary, you sounded like you're not sure how long you're gonna do this, right? Or whether you're gonna put any permanent buildings in.
I'm not gonna put any permanent buildings in. The idea is just to bring in, block. Nothing's gonna be no permanent structures. It can easily be pulled out and removed.
Okay, are you guys buying or leasing?
In negotiations.
You do you have control of the property now or,
No, I do not.
um. Hours of operation structure, 24 hours, what,
24 hours.
okay, it'd be 24 hours. Right now, it appears that the use of the place right now is a paved parking lot. And I believe that was an overflow parking from the mall.
Yeah, and they use it for material storage for many construction projects, milling projects.
So, is your facility gonna be paved or is it gonna be,
It's paved, it's still paved now.
it'll still be paved now?
Yes.
Okay.
Use it just as it is.
Is there any stormwater management already in there?
What's that?
Stormwater management? catch
Yeah, there is,
basins?
yep.
Um,
There is a drainage well, to the left hand side of the property.
Again, when you're dealing with salt, how that gets into the system.
Correct, you want to be on the lower side.
Right, right. Route 20 Water Street is a divided highway, with this location actually being on the westbound direction, with the existing driveway right in the middle where it transitions from a 2-lane down to a 3-lane. You got the dedicated left turn lane that goes off on 102. Being this is gonna be a one-way direction, it's essentially gonna be right turn in and right turn out,
Correct.
correct? On your little sketch here, it indicates you're gonna have the block, and then you're gonna put a fence in there,
Okay, yep,
okay? And we would have to know what the distance is gonna be from basically the curb line going out to this gate. Because I'm not sure if you're gonna have pickup trucks are coming in, you're gonna have
you want to be
triaxles
sure
coming
that
in.
the truck comes at the gate is closed. You want to make sure
You could have
it
a
is.
trailer dump that's coming in here, whatever it is, you gotta make sure it comes off the highway.
Mhm.
It doesn't obstruct traffic
Yep.
while they're waiting to open up a gate.
I understand.
Again, it's just, you could describe this in your formal site plan, just
Mhm.
those are kind of things, we would be looking at. You gotta be mindful of any, the truck movements are gonna be in and out of that place. Again, right turn and right out. Talked about that, the gate, I assume that's security at night,
Mhm.
okay. Okay, you already indicated there's not gonna be any topsoil screening, no touching, strictly retail, we talked about the salt storage, which you'll describe. The stormwater management, I guess we'd want to know, especially if is involved in, with the salt.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it to have an opinion. It sounds like if he's got asphalt there already and he's got storm drains in, he's not changing anything.
Well, no,
I don't know what we would ask for.
No, the issue is if you're dealing with salt and if salt gets out on the paved area and it gets into the storm system, that should be,
That affects the river.
well, it should be looked at to see how that would affect. Where's the stormwater being discharged to? Again, if it's just a parking lot for cars, like that's what the use is currently, then that's what it was for. But now you're changing the use, not from a parking lot to this other use.
So what would be the question that he would be trying to answer about the salt?
If there's any mitigating,
Any way to sort of collect it up if it spills or something, or
mitigate any runoff with salt that goes into the system.
Control the runoff.
Where does it
what does
go?
that mean?
You have to have it in.
He's gonna- Can I speak?
Yeah.
He has a diagram of a shed that has a roof on it, I'm gonna show you. If he puts it underneath that, takes the water off the roof, keeps it off the salt. If he doesn't have it, then it gets into the salt and it dilutes the salt and runs it out onto the parking lot and towards the river.
No, I understand all that. I just don't understand what you can do about it once it's out on the parking lot running toward the river.
You'd have to tell us what the mitigation
Where it's gonna
method
be.
would be.
What are the possibilities? I mean,
Right.
Suck it up with a vacuum cleaner and take it somewhere or what?
That's what, you would just have to
No.
describe what the mitigation is. Now, I don't know what the mitigation is gonna be.
Okay.
Okay,
Doesn't seem like there could
Right.
be any, but that's why I asked.
right,
Yeah.
Well,
but no, it's a question that should be asked and addressed.
I just don't see that we're gonna have that, I mean, even though if we have a 100-year rainfall, that we're gonna get the runoff from the salt shed to. I mean, we have a roof over our salt shed, that's it.
Yeah.
Even the town.
Okay. Conrad, are you getting?
Yeah, that's all I had.
Okay. Meg?
lighting, are you having lighting?
One temporary light generator.
Okay,
That's it, Peg?
I think so.
Dave?
Yeah.
This looks very temporary. Is this, you still got other plans? You got other
Let's see how it
plans?
goes and if it works.
As I say, and I think we just need to see how you're gonna place the bins on the property. And make it all fit and work and leave yourself access to come in and out with vehicles. It's used for storage now, and we all know that the last couple of years, there's been thousands of tons of, I think Tommy took a whole bunch of the millings that came off of there, but they've been storing millings there
Yeah.
for this 2 or 3 years. So it's no longer used as a parking lot, because we all know the brick and mortar buildings are in trouble.
Everybody buy games now.
But I still think you got to do a little more homework. To come back with some definite measurements and, before we can act on it.
Okay,
That's it.
Okay.
so basically you're gonna want me to do like a minor site plan review. Is that what you're saying?
Because that's what we gotta discuss. I mean,
That has to be discussed.
Yeah,
Hey,
just so I know what you.
yeah, I looked at over the minor and the major thing, and it doesn't really fit the minor category quite perfectly. I mean, we were thinking about stores changing hands and moving counters around inside as being minor, and then we gave an example of what's a major, and it's probably bigger than this, so this is sort of in the middle. And I guess, I don't really want to ask Gary to come in with all the stuff for a major. I think that would be very burdensome. So I think if we can consider it a minor, even though it's stretching the category a little bit, I think I prefer to do that as long as he understands what we're really after, which is a better map and the layout of where the buildings are going to be and where the boundaries are. And Gary, I have one other thing that hasn't been mentioned, and that is, I wonder if you would consider doing any landscaping as part of the project. Putting some trees in. I can't really visualize, I think, how this looks.
The state owns, I think. That I know from the road in, from the curve in, I think the state owns that.
See, this is good, bud.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's a row of trees.
yeah.
On the back is a row of trees. This is where the sheds are. And there's some big wood that hangs over. Are you gonna trim any of these things?
Yeah, I'm gonna trim back. Around, but I'm not gonna take anything down.
Okay.
Well, there's a long, open stretch, looks like on Water Street, according to this thing that Conrad handed out. Is there any way to screen any of that?
So the bins are gonna have a wall behind them. That's gonna go, down the side. You won't be able to directly see right in. You only see in
You see the back of the blocks.
the bins, correct?
Yeah, so are they gonna be right up against the boundary line?
Yes,
You don't have any sort of margin of, for landscaping. Is your entire lot asphalt?
the entire lot is asphalt, yes.
Boy, okay, never mind, I'll let it go.
No,
It's,
Well, it would be nice if there's some sort of separation
it would be
between
nice.
the sidewalk and
yeah,
Yeah,
the area.
as one of my jobs here, I was for a year and a half, the chair of the master plan committee.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if you knew, we adopted a master plan, but we did. And, one of the things that kept coming up was, well, Berkshire, the league called itself the Gateway to the Berkshires. And the first thing anybody saw when we were meeting was a big pile of black stuff down there when they got off the interstate, off the Mass Pike. And there was a lot of comment about that, about how ugly it was and how it's not a great way to meet people, you know, telling them that you're the gateway to, you know, asphalt city. And so I'm just thinking if there's some way to sort of pretty this up a little bit for people going by, that would be a nice flourish. I don't know, I don't really know the property well enough to know.
Well, let me
What's
see what
possible.
I can come up with when we come back in.
Thank you.
Good.
Can I make another comment?
Yeah, Dave.
If you look at the maps, any of them, all of them, what if you stayed on the blacktop?
That Dave will write something
You
down.
know, what if you stayed, kept all the back of your buildings on the blacktop?
I am planning to stay on.
Not, don't go to any property lines or anything, but this thing looks like there, all the way around it, there's gotta be, the blacktop can't run up to the property line. But I think if you show us a plot plan for the area,
Mhm.
that'll tell the story, because you can
Okay.
overlay one or the other. And see where the parking lot ends and the property line ends.
So there'd be some unpaved areas up around.
Right.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those already have trees for most of it, but.
Correct.
Yeah, but anyway, whatever you can think of, Gary, would be appreciated.
Okay.
Because what this is also, I mean, you got the mall right there with the driveway. There's gotta be close to 10,000 cars a day that go by this property. Because they're coming from 20,
Yeah,
going west towards town. They're going to the turnpike.
yeah.
They're coming off the turnpike, so there's a lot of traffic that goes by here. And, you know, we're trying to make the effort of, you know, this is sort of the gateway from that end of town.
Right.
Whereas Laurel Street, when we had the discussion about Domino's, get the gateway coming into the town from that direction. We're trying to do something better down there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is just kind of a barren park line. If we did have, even if it's just on the front side of where these bins are gonna be.
Mhm.
Even if you offset them 5 feet, 8 feet, just put some kind of landscaping, in just to break that up.
Even if it's little trees and
nice.
pots, maybe. I don't know if it's all asphalt. You can put something in a big pot.
I understand what you're looking for.
Hmm.
Well, thank
That'd be
you.
good.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
Our conclusion is that will be postponed and reconsidered at a later time when we have more detail. Mr. O'Brien, in the form of a plot plan showing location of buildings, showing any vegetation that he wants to add, and showing a salt runoff mitigation measures. Is that all of it?
If it, well, to me, if it's not under a roof, yes.
Oh, okay.
If it's
Okay.
under a roof, the salt sheds, you see, use the bins that have the roof over it.
Correct, yep,
If you had that, then I don't think that's necessary.
correct. Just keep the salt inside the
But
enclosure.
if you have it open, then yes.
Yep,
So either the mitigation measures or a shed with a roof.
I don't think we need stormwater management calculations. I think just if you can, you know, in a narrative, just, you're gonna have a salt shed, it will be covered, and that would probably be enough.
Isn't the parking lot's got drainage around it? So, I mean, the stormwater to me has been taken care of already, but by having it through the years, it's been a parking lot. There's gotta be somewhere for drainage on it.
Yeah, probably the flow is gonna be just displaced because of.
Probably
what ends
a
up.
swale or something.
Yeah.
That's just drainage swale.
Just like that, yeah. Do you have a survey on the property now?
I do not.
Because a survey would actually show the property lines, the meets and bounds, it would show where the limits of the paving is.
Mhm.
Probably would be recommended at least get a survey on it.
All right, thank you very much. Mr.
Hey, thank you
O'Brien.
for your time. I appreciate it very
I
much.
look forward to seeing you again.
Yep, have a good night.
I'm sorry.
You okay?
Okay. Back at it.
Here we go.
It's done.
Good.
Back into residential zoning discussion.
Johnny,
Good night.
Thank you now.
So I wonder if the board has any, desire to see any drafts of anything? Do we want to have, you know, sort of an options paper. One would be what was the acronym? The
A-Rod,
A-Rod, change the A-Rod option.
yep,
Another option is to look at the 4 unit limit that's spread throughout all the residential zoning areas.
I mean, and then there's also, it's not allowed at all in the CR zone.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
You know, I can, doing this for years, but I still don't really get it. We have so many different residential zones. We have R20, R30. And
Yeah.
RB, right?
yeah,
And is RC, is it?
CR,
CR, yeah.
CR,
And there's something in between CR and R30, right? Isn't there another?
RA 40,
RA 40.
RA 4, it used to be called RA 40.
Yeah,
Sorry to interrupt.
no, that's good. Thanks.
Yeah, so
That's what I
that-
was trying to think of.
It
Yeah.
goes, we have R20, 20,000 square foot lot, 30, R30, 30,000, RA 40, now it's just called RA, and then you get into, your RB, which can be both, and that can be 40,000 feet for residential. And CR, which is 3 acre
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah, so, and there's no multifamily allowed in CR.
No.
I don't know if that bothers me so much, but just having the idea that the area around downtown can't be used for multifamily, when there's, here and there's apartment buildings that have
Mhm.
gotten in from one exception or another, public housing that we have for seniors, and I mean, it's not Pittsfield, but it is our downtown area.
It
and
is.
It seems like it's too restrictively zoned for me. And I feel less strongly about the very rural areas, there aren't a lot of roads and people, but maybe we should look at that too. What do we want to do next, though? Anybody have any ideas? Do you want to see a policy paper, or do you want to see some drafts, or want us to think it over and come back and talk about it next time? I wonder if I could ask, if he doesn't mind being asked, Gordon, what he might recommend. Do you mind, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, yeah.
Gordon, do you want to say anything? Can you offer anything?
Well, I think you absolutely, it's important that you revisit this 4-unit thing. I was looking up some issues while you were speaking with the last person who was there, and I went into the CBC zone to see what was by right and what wasn't. And it struck me that on page 17 of the zoning bylaw, I'm reading what's allowed in the CBC. And, okay, you guys have that, then I'm gonna bring mine up.
Getting there.
Yep, no problem. But I'm looking
Got
at
it.
it. Uses required by special permit for the Board of Selectmen. Look at A. Multiple dwellings subject to all the provisions here in compliance with the special saying no more than 4 dwelling units shall be built on a lot. Then look at B. Multiple dwellings with more than 4 dwelling units can be, it's like, wait a minute, is it not allowed or is it allowed?
It's like, well, just forget what you just read. We're gonna allow it here. We
It's
just
like,
had. we just
shoot
had-
me in the foot here. Look at, they're both go to section 9.2, which is special, I get it, but that's the kind of craziness we have throughout the residential requirements.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole base, code here. So, yeah, I think that, so you asked what, I think that's one of the major things that has to be looked at, this restriction to 4 units. I still think it should be a special permit, so that things like if you change it in the R20 where it's next to the housing for the elderly there on High Street. So I don't see a problem with having an ability for a Board of Selectmen to go to 4 units, and there may be some other things that are involved, parking spaces and whatnot. It'd be under site plan for you guys. But yeah, I actually think you should go into the CR zone and have multiple family allowed there. And maybe you even say the caveat is you have to use the other section that nobody ever uses, with where you can have cluster development in a CR zone. Something like that, where you can have multiple families on a big lot. I mean, those are big lots. it definitely fits the terminology of exclusionary zoning. If you got enough money, you can buy yourself some space. I don't know. I mean, I certainly have a lot of ideas. I'm more than willing to share another time. I wasn't prepared to talk about this tonight, but
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to come back and bring up some other issues and also suggest some fixes to the table of dimensional requirements.
Thanks, Gordon. You, a few minutes ago or a few moments ago, you said, you could see it would be okay to have the selectmen granting special permits for up to 4. Did you mean 4 or did you mean a larger number than
Oh,
4?
I mean, get rid of the 4 limit. I think anything over like 3 family probably should go as a special permit from someone. Because you bring in a lot of other issues once you get that big.
Right, but what
You
about,
know,
should we have a limit at all, do you think, or do you want to think about that one?
I'll think about it and get back to you. I know that, I was also listening to your last meeting when, you had someone proposing a huge number of dwelling spaces and units on a very kind of small area, actually. They're on off West Center. I have my own comments and I have to get hold of that gentleman and talk to him directly. But yeah, I'm not saying there should necessarily, I mean, I think be an upper limit. I think that every lot and every proposal brings its own goods and bads with it. And it should be taken on a case by case basis.
Thanks, Gordon. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Before we go much further, do we have we had more interviews for a planner?
We have. Yeah, we
have
had
a-
2. We had, Brooke applied.
No.
And then we interviewed another person. Trying to
Probably
keep
is
that.
probably as far as you should say about the other person.
Yes, exactly. And there's a 3rd interview happening Thursday.
Good.
I don't,
So it,
yeah,
Whatever.
that's all.
so I just feel like at this point, we shouldn't rely on
No,
advice from
No,
staff.
we got it.
We should just chart our course for next town meeting if we want to put anything together.
So of these items, I mean, it would, people's heads might explode, but I think take the cap right off and let it run its course through special permit.
On all the places or all the zones, is that what you're saying, Buck? I'm not sure.
Bushman,
Well, we,
Anything over
if
3.
they come in for
Yeah,
permit, we could take them case by case.
definitely. And that's what a special permit would do.
The selectmen, not us.
The selectmen would, we would do a site plan.
Yeah.
Um,
How about if
Let's-
we, try to
Look at
raise
the-
it for the smallest lots, like R20 and R30, and raise it maybe from 4 to 8 and then take it off entirely for the bigger lots.
yeah, but there was a definite density calculation. I remember when we were doing the R40. Or 40R, I'm sorry, 40R at the mill, there's a definite planning density calculation. I mean, because it could get crazy. Somebody has a 3-acre lot and they put in, you know, a pennant house of little,
That's the
5.
economic incentive, is always to get as many units in as.
yeah,
you can.
get, 500 square foot apartments. You
Yeah.
know, that is really what could happen. So let's start throwing around all the ideas. Yeah, Peg?
Which one is the farm? Which unit is the, like, they always get up and say, this is a farm. It's for farming. You know, the one
Where-
that Carol,
CR. usually.
CR,
Carolyn.
yes,
Yeah.
okay. So,
Most of our what's left of our ag is in CR.
it is.
But
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, you can have agricultural by right in any zone,
True.
even industrial, as long as they have 5 acres and their primary use is gonna be agricultural.
Yeah.
Then you can't restrict that.
But on the other hand, what I think, Gordon, tell me if I'm wrong about this, but as I read our bylaws, we have this RA district in which residential agricultural, and it's like, I sort of read between the lines and I'm thinking, these people thought that if they zoned it this way, they'd be helping farming.
I had
And
no
it
idea
just
why they
doesn't
called
work
it
that.
that. I
Doesn't-
Maybe we
They're
should
all,
look at
they're all
the
turned out to
zone.
be, the RA areas all turned out to be residential subdivisions, didn't they?
Well, I
Come on.
think what you need to remember is this was done in 1972, those designations and definitions. And it was sort of at the same time that 40A, Mass General Law 40A was being redone. That's why our zoning bylaw came out in those days, 72, 73. Along with Proposition 2.5, there were major changes at the state and municipal level. I think maybe this is one of the things that just kind of like slid under the rug and nobody really paid attention that, well, we're calling it residential agricultural. You know, agricultural was very restricted on those unless you had 5 acres on your lot. And we did have some of those. I can tell you where some of them were, but now, of course, they've been purchased, divided up and used for just residential and not agricultural. And that was a developer's choice.
But most of you take East Street, you go
Mhm.
about 500 feet off of East Street, and that turns to CR.
Mhm.
Well,
I
maybe
know
we
it's
should-
small.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should look at this
So,
stuff and
Peter,
maybe
in
change it.
Yeah, and everyone here.
Yeah.
Is there like a number? Is there, like, I'm a math guy, is there like a number of housing units and
That's-
things that we're looking to have and provide here in the town? Is there a certain number, like, hey, you know, master plan in the next 5 years, we'd like to see, housing be. And.
You know, I proposed something like that to the master plan committee and I don't think it survived. I don't think they wanted to go there, to be that specific. I think they just wanted to say we should push more housing in a lot of ways, but not set specific targets. There is a target of 10% that is a relatively minor consequence because we probably don't ever actually face the consequence and leave, but
For affordable.
affordable,
Yeah.
yeah. But we're nowhere near 10%. So what are we, about 6%?
We are, I think after Eagle Mill, we might be very close.
Yeah. That's
So-
good.
Because what happens if we're not at 10%?
Right,
A developer could come in, propose, an affordable housing project and negate all zoning,
Just bypass on.
bypass all of it.
So one of I can't give you a number. I know I like numbers too, but I don't like to make up numbers just to have a number. That one of the things that happens if we get more rental housing and more smaller, affordable, maybe, I don't want to say affordable because that's been pirated. That term's been pirated. Young family affordable housing.
Economical housing.
Yeah, workforce housing, I guess they call it.
Oh, they're calling affordable that now too. to
Oh,
make it
I
sound
agree. They keep changing everything, so you can't talk about anything, but. If we could have more of that and more young families, I think the community would be very healthier. That one of the things that they're having trouble with in some of the adjoining towns is like Stockbridge, the average age is like 65. They haven't got any kids. And, the town is sort of aging out and going away. And so a healthy town has people in all different age groups. And that helps the school, which has been declining in enrollment seriously over 20 years. If we get more units that are affordable to young families, we'll have more kids in the school. And less of a burden on the taxpayers, I think, to fund a school that's, was built for a much larger complement. That's just my opinion.
Right. Now, another crazy question here. I did a report in college about 30 years ago. And, up at the outlets there was always talk of a third phase in the back there, with building the outlets. Like, has that ever been looked at for a potential maybe spot for housing?
Access is a problem. I mean,
Isn't there
the only
back
access
road?
to that third is off of Forest Street where the old mill is, which is almost impossible to get through.
Right,
And the other one's off the backside of the mall.
right.
So who knows what's gonna happen with the mall? We all hope it survives.
Yeah, no, I
Who knows?
I always looked at that because there was always there was gonna be a third phase.
Yeah.
And,
So that's one
nothing
time for.
planned, you know, what do you have up there? You're looking for a nice view and some. That's,
I don't know if they could build housing in that, could they, is housing allowed in that zone?
Not in, what is it, PCV states?
Yeah,
Yeah,
No,
No.
when PCVC goes away, if it goes away, you know what, I'm sure it would be open to change then. That would be another 40R situation, possibly.
one of the things that is happening I think, land use planning overall, since I was young, is that there's a lot more emphasis now on communities that are multifunctional, so that, you know, there's residences, there's shops, there's jobs, all within a short distance of each other. The idea in the 70s, when this was all put together, was keep them all separate, you know? And it started off to make sense, you know, keep the pig farms away from the residential developments because they smell so bad. Okay. But we carried it out to such an extent that, you know, people have to drive everywhere. I think the more modern view is let's allow some shops in with the housing. You know, people like to walk to a cafe. And it doesn't do any harm, you know, to have a few shops. So maybe housing up there would be possible. I don't know. They got the shops, they just don't have the apartments.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, well, while you're looking at residential, I think you should look at that, planned outlet village and see. Maybe you could just go ahead and put housing in, you know, under subdivision plan. Or special permit by either the planning board for subdivision or by the board of selectmen, but. I think you can put it in. At the time, we were thinking if it all failed, it would just be other retail like banks and.
Yeah.
Attorneys' offices and all that, but I think that pendulum has swung. And now everybody's looking for housing, so you know what, it could be an option. Not necessarily, you know, for future growth, not necessarily for what's there at the moment. Unless they go under, and maybe all of that could be affordable housing, you know, I think but without that language in there, you're absolutely restricted. And with no way to do it. So,
So, all right, so our homework and goals for next meeting is look into density factors. And let's rename RA. We gotta get that changed. That should just go be R40.
Yeah.
People get so confused with that. So density factors, zones that don't allow housing
Well,
or multiple
yeah,
family group.
multiple family housing.
Yep.
Size limits.
And, I don't wanna say consequences, but you know, we gotta think about that. What, you know, if you do that, what could happen? You know, like I said, if you, a 1 acre lot, if you allow
Yeah.
8, 10 units on a lot, that's really a lot. So,
Just out of curiosity, other towns around us, other towns have must gone through the same thing as we are. I mean,
I
they already explored this, they have,
think they're doing the same thing right now. 'Cause
they're
they're-
evolving also, or you think
we-
we've already gotten there?
No, I think they're, Great Barrington's doing some stuff. But I think they're all evolving because we had these, like Peter said, we segmented everything all out back in the day. I know we don't want, and we promoted the, you know, the American dream, the single family house.
Right.
Promoted that and you said, okay, if you're gonna leave more, you want more open space, so we'll make it 3 acres out there you have to have.
Yeah.
To maintain the open space, but all that does is you have a whole bunch of people that have 3 acres that don't need it. Honestly, I mean, I'm in that predicament. I have 3 acres, I live on 1.
Yeah.
The rest is just there that I pay taxes on. So,
Maybe do you want to authorize me to propose some? language?
we always love your language.
I would suggest more of a gradual step upwards. Maybe from maximum 4 to maximum 6 or 8 in the R20 zone, maybe a little more in the R40 zone. I don't want to scare people into. People will always, if they're against something, they'll think of a horror show that could happen. And I don't want to allow any horror shows, but I think a stepwise approach would be approvable, I think, by the town. They think we're being cautious, but moving in the right direction, but.
Cautious but progressive.
Yeah, I mean, moving in the right direction, but not, not throwing the brakes overboard.
So when you're increased the 4 to 8, and let's say someone did go to an 8, now does that change? Would that be zoned is that like a commercial risk or commercial rate now? As far as taxes go?
We don't have split rates.
We have one rate.
We have one,
Right.
right?
One rate.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it would be valuated higher because it's gonna be worth more money.
right.
Right. I just, from
And as
my
far as
background.
your insurance, that's up to you. I don't
No,
care.
well, what happens is after 4 family, you now become more of a business product. So if someone were to say, hey, I changed my 4 family to an 8 family, well, now I go from a personal product to now more of a business product because it no longer meets the underwriting guidelines.
For our zoning, it
Right.
doesn't matter,
That's good to know.
but that's
Not insurance.
interesting.
So there are a handful of carriers that will do up to 6, but after 6, there's really a cutoff. and there's
Yeah,
more.
I don't think that's a reason to not move forward with this, Sandy.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying, as far as I sit every day and people ask me those questions and,
Yeah.
hey, I'm gonna buy a 6 family, like, well, now your costs are a little different.
Right.
And the commercial products are more expensive generally.
They can potentially be, and Gordon has his hand up.
You can finish though.
No.
Wait, no, let him wait.
You're at, 80 hours a week on that stuff, I'm all set.
Okay, what do you got, Gordon?
Well, another thought process is because R20, R30, and let's call it R40 is all based on square footage. You might also consider, up to 4 families on an R20, 6 on an R30, and 8 on an R40. You kind of schedule it that way. So you aren't inundating the public with a fear that they're going to have a 10 family being proposed on a half-acre lot, which is an R20.
Right.
So it is just kind of like stretch it out with the property that would go with the density issue you were talking about.
Or do we figure out a calculation where if you have so many square feet,
Mhm.
you can do so many units? Cause say if you're in R20 and you have a double lot, say you have 2 acres, a double lot, something like that,
Should be able to do
you should
more.
be able to do more.
Yeah, no, I'm saying there's a lot of approaches to it.
We have utilities.
Most do.
You start going to CR, that's a different.
Oh, CR is totally different.
We need wells and stuff like
Yep.
that.
Right,
That's an interesting idea as a substitute for the whole thing. I mean, it's rather than doing it by zone. Where the lot sizes vary a lot and the circumstances therefore vary a lot within each zone. Do it by a formula where you say, if you got so many square feet, you can have so many units.
There was something when we were working on the 40R that they had, for density, and I'll try to dig that up.
Okay.
Talk to Berkshire Regional. We have that big thing this Wednesday.
yeah. That'll be-
Yeah.
I wonder, do we want to invite anybody from anywhere else to come and talk to us about this since we don't have staff yet? Regional planning advice, or I know they're dealing with this a lot in Great Barrington. I wonder if we could invite.
We
You
could
know,
talk to
there-
Berkshire Regional on it. We got out, I'm sure. Let's, keep that in your mind for Wednesday.
Okay,
You'll see a whole lot of staff there.
all right. Try to recruit somebody for the
Yep.
next meeting.
Yep.
But, Mr. Chairman, I see that they also changed their agenda. And Ed Abrams isn't coming anymore, it looks like.
Oh,
I'm just saying, it just got a repost today with a new
I
agenda.
didn't see that. That's too bad.
No, very bad, because I was hoping to be able to speak. I'm still gonna speak. I actually talked to Chris Britton and I had a Zoom meeting with the mayor of Pittsfield. And I will be bringing up under one of the sections of the agenda a suggestion that all of the communities in in Berkshire County send a representative and start meeting together to have a unified approach to the new law about ADUs and, try and all get a uniform stance based on our communities, see if anybody's interested in that. And maybe we'll get a group of similar sized towns at least. But I'll be bringing that up to see if there's any interest. So I'm just giving you the heads up.
Yep.
And I was really, really looking forward to speaking with Secretary Abrams about some specifics of the ADU, the affordable housing, because once it's called the Affordable Housing Act, there isn't one word that says affordable in the whole thing. There's no requirement for ADUs to be affordable. There's no requirement for anything to be affordable, but yet
No.
they're gonna make towns do it by right. Which is, I just think that's crazy, but anyway, just a thought. But thank you. I'm gonna sign off and leave you guys to it.
All right, Gordon,
I appreciate your willingness to listen to me.
always.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. So everyone's okay with that October 9th meeting? I assume we already kind of jumped the gun on that. Our next planning board meeting,
Oh, yeah.
October 9th. Well, it's the Wednesday after Columbus Day.
Because we can't meet on a
Oh, it's a
holiday.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
It's a Wednesday instead.
Oh.
Yep. Actually, Columbus Day is the 14th.
oh, what did she say? She said.
Well, because
October 8th?
we would be missing,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
all right,
we would be
I
missing
got it.
that Columbus Day.
so we're
doing
doing it
The
the
Wednesday,
same week.
week
I
prior,
know,
the week prior
Okay.
to Columbus Day,
They'll send.
So it's on October 9th
October 9th,
at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
We try to get,
I
Yep.
may have to patch in via Zoom
That works.
on that day.
Okay. Yeah.
Leader adjourned?
Yep.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to,
second.
any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye, aye, aye.